Hi, everyone. Welcome. What a beautiful day. Spring is coming. I want to read a little bit about these gals. The Chittenden Solid Waste District is a solid waste municipality that is dedicated to helping reduce and responsibly manage solid waste for residents and businesses in Chittenden County. CSWD operates 6 drop-off centers across the county: the Environmental Depot for Household Hazardous Waste, the Materials Recycling Facility in Williston, the Organics Recycling Facility, home of Green Mountain Compost, and the Rover, a mobile household hazardous waste collection unit. Gabrielle Stevens, CSWD's Business Outreach Coordinator, Rhonda Mace, who is the School Outreach Coordinator, and Kat Moody, who is the Community Outreach Coordinator, are a part of CSWD's outreach team and work with residents, schools, businesses, events, and community organizations to help educate on waste reduction, recycling, composting, and all things waste. I think we're going to have a little fun today, so I'm going to turn it over to these gals, and thank you for coming.
Let me double check. Oh, good, it's on. Okay. Hi, well, I'm about to say that. My name is Gabby. I am the CSWD Business Outreach Coordinator, and I'm joined today by...
I'm Rhonda. Oh, this is why I don't wear microphones. I'll have to learn how to use my inside voice, I guess. I'm Rhonda Mace, otherwise known as Recycle Rhonda, and I do all of the school outreach for 2-year-olds to 52-year-old grad students.
And I'm Kat Moody. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator, and I do everything from event outreach to senior centers to libraries, and we're excited to chat with you today.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. So we're going to go through our presentation today to tell you what goes where. So every type of waste that you can generate as a household user. Ooh. So a little bit on what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about landfills and trash first, followed by food waste guidelines, recycling guidelines. Then we'll go into a little bit on special materials and household hazardous waste. And then we're going to test what you've learned with a skill drill and go through some of CSWD's additional resources if you didn't learn enough today. So, like Carol said, we are CSWD, the Chittenden Solid Waste District. We are your local municipality, and we have several resources for you. In addition to operating 6 drop-off centers, we also operate Green Mountain Compost, our organics recycling facility, as well as own the Materials Recovery Facility, or Materials Recycling Facility, and also the Environmental Depot.
All right, so we are, as a solid waste district, we are tasked to find fun and fantastical things to do with all the stuff that people in Chittenden County no longer want or need. But before we get into the what goes where, we're going to talk a little bit, we like to talk a little bit about and remind people that all of our stuff, from the clothes we're wearing, the chairs we're sitting on, and this beautiful roof over our head, all comes from natural resources. All comes from Mother Nature's gifts, as I like to say. And just reminding ourselves that when we're using something or going to buy something, knowing that reducing and reusing are always going to win out over recycling any day of the week. So whether it is a lithium for our electronics or our batteries, or food from our neighbor farmers, or paper from a paper plantation or a wood plantation, or oil. Does anybody know where plastic comes from? Oil, all right? So just to give you guys a demonstration, all right, this is the amount of oil that it takes to make this one bottle if we do not buy stuff made out of recycled plastic. So we got some work to do as a community, all of us together. So just not saying it to make everybody sad, just a reality. So I always like to point that out. All right, hit it, please. Thanks. All right, so just how many, can you tell I'm a teacher? Just how many metals do you guys think are in one cell phone? How many different kinds of metals? I'll give you, there's about 100 metals that we know of anyway on planet Earth. How many do you think exist in one cell phone? You could shout it out. 52. Whoa, yeah. All right, hit it, my friend. So there are anywhere between 40 and 60 different kinds of metals in our cell phones. All right? They vary from recyclability or how much are getting recycled. So in the green little circles are the metals that are readily recycled, or at least 50% or more of them are recycled. The red, less than 1% of them are recycled. It's not because they are not recyclable. It's because we, the people, aren't putting these things in the right bins. And that's one of the reasons why we're here today, is to help you guys figure what goes where. And give you a little why we do sort things out. It's not just because we want to make things complicated or we want to just challenge everybody. It is for a reason, because on a day like today and the birds are singing, we want to keep those birds singing. And in order to do that, we need to reduce, reuse, and recycle as much as we can. All right. So now we'll get into where does it all go. For Chittenden Solid Waste District, we do manage all of the materials here in Chittenden County. And as Gabby said, we have about 9 different facilities to do that. All right, you can go on with the next one, I think. Yeah. But if you, in Zoom land out there or here, are outside of Chittenden County, Vermont manages its materials through what are called solid waste management entities, also known as SWMEs in the little world. So now you're into a little lingo of the solid waste people. And that varies. It can be one town, or it can be like a whole district or an alliance of towns. So how it's managed is different, but we are tasked by the Vermont Agency of Natural Resources to manage things properly. They set the big laws, and as a solid waste district, CSWD has the ability to make stricter laws if we so choose. Like in our county, it has been a law to recycle since the early 90s. Vermont passed a universal recycling law in 2015. So here in Chittenden County, we were way ahead of it, thankfully. All right, hit it, my friend. Now, why does it matter what goes where? Oh, I found this nice little pointer thing too. So this column here indicates all of the things that we just in Chittenden County generated last year. So that is about 614 million pounds of stuff just in our county that we generated. Now, great news is almost 60% of that stayed out of the landfills, all right? Stayed out of the trash. We diverted and recycled it in one way, shape, or form. But this still leaves this whole pile right here that we are still sending to the, putting into the trash. So that's like about 243 million pounds just from Chittenden County that we are tossing into the trash can. So the importance of sorting it out is half of what we're tossing in the trash, or about half, can be recycled in one way, shape, or form. And it is our job, and after today it's your job too, to be the boots on the ground and spread the word, all right? Get out there. I know that you guys can make stuff happen. I know it. So that is why we're here, to help you figure out what goes where, and then hopefully spread it throughout the world, or out, at least in Vermont. All right, you can hit it. So we're going to focus first on trash, all right? That 243 million pounds of trash that we send to the landfill from our county. Now, to open that up to Vermont, we send about 1 trillion pounds of trash to, we make about 1 trillion pounds of trash every single year for our whole state. For our whole state, how many landfills do you think exist? Man, I'm going home. You guys are already, you guys got it going on. Yeah, so we have 1 landfill. This is it for our state. I'm trying to use this as a clicker now. Take it out of my hand for now. So it is owned and operated by Casella. Chittenden Solid Waste District is not Casella. We are a nonprofit. Casella is a for-profit. So we get confused, I think, because of the C's. But we are a very different entity. So they own and operate the one and only landfill, or open landfill here in Vermont. There's plenty of landfills hanging about. Some of you might remember, like, every town had a landfill at one point. And then those all got closed, and we got a little smarter about how we're managing our trash. But again, half of what we're tossing in there doesn't need to go in there at all. About 80% of all the trash comes to this one landfill the southern portion of Vermont, it would be not feasible for them to ship it all the way to Coventry. So they send it to various places, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and New York, just because it's more economical and environmentally sound to do so. All right. So what stays in the land, what goes in the landfill, one thing I think people don't understand, what goes into the landfill stays there for a very, very, very long time. It is like King Tut's tomb of trash. Hopefully we don't find any mummies in there, but that is like what is in there is not going to change over long periods of time. There's no oxygen in there, and there's not a whole lot happening. It's just a catacomb of trash in our earth. All right, Gabby, take it away.
Right. Speaking of, does anybody want to throw out some guesses as to what these are? Carrots. Yeah, they're carrots. And they're super identifiable, right? They're a little gross, but you can tell that those are carrots. Those are carrots that have been in the landfill for about 10 years. Yeah. Every once in a while when I give these presentations, someone says, Gabby, like, what's the big deal with throwing food waste in a landfill? It's just going to break down. That's not broken down. It takes a very long time for anything to happen in a landfill. Not like compost, though. This is a little backyard experiment that Rhonda did where she tried with her own carrots to see how quickly she could make them go away. And it took about 9 weeks before those became a beautiful soil. So very different from what is in a landfill. You have a lot of options when it comes to managing food waste. And Act 148 does not discriminate. You are more than welcome to bring it to our organics recycling facility or a drop-off center that's managed by us or anyone that's local to you. But you can also hire a curbside hauler. You can install a green cone solar digester and have it go right back into the soil. You can compost at home if it suits you, and if you want that good compost for your garden, you could feed it to animals, and if it's still edible, you can donate it as well. In fact, if you have food that is still edible, I highly recommend you donate it. Part of what Act 148 did was establish a food recovery hierarchy that states what the highest and best use is for food and what the lowest and least preferred use is for food. Compost is fabulous, but it's at the bottom because the best thing to do with food is eat it. The Organics Recycling Facility, also known as Green Mountain Compost, is one of the 11, not municipal.
Industrial.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Industrial compost facilities that are found in Vermont. CSWD's ORF is located in Williston, and we take food scraps, yard waste, and natural wood. And so if you have any questions on what can go in your compost bin, I'm happy to answer those for you now. Now, before I get into what goes into CSWD's compost bins, I want to throw out there that what you put in your compost bin at home might look a little bit different. A backyard compost bin usually isn't going to have meat, bones, or fish because it has the potential to attract animals. You probably also don't want to throw a lot of compostable products in there for a different reason, which is that they might not necessarily break down in a backyard bin. But if you are taking your food scraps to CSWD, we will accept your meat, your fish, your bones, your fruits and vegetables, your cheeses. We will also take compostable bag liners, not other compostable products. We'll take newspaper and brown paper bags. We will take paper towels if they are not used to mop up any chemicals, preferably if they are unbleached. And we'll also take your paper coffee filters and your tea bags. This might be different if you are not a Chittenden County resident, so check locally. But for the most part, most municipal compost facilities are no longer taking compostable plastic. We ask that you leave out any plastic bags, as well as your stickers, your pizza boxes, and no food containers or utensils, whether they say they're compostable or not.
All right, so now we're going to transition into our recycling section here. So here we have a map of Vermont showing the 2 materials recycling facilities that we have in this state. So here in Williston, we have our MRF, which is short for Materials Recycling Facility, another abbreviation you'll get to know well. And then in southern Vermont, we have the second MRF, and that takes the southern part of Vermont. So CSWD's MRF is taking the northern half, and then the Rutland MRF is taking more of the southern half. Materials that come into the MRF are blue bin recyclables, and then they are sorted, they're baled into these large bales that you can actually see in this picture here, and then they're shipped and sold to buyers. And all of our buyers are domestic, so either in the US or Canada. So an aluminum can, if you put that into your blue bin, you can expect that to first come to our MRF in Williston, and then after that, it's squashed and baled and shipped, and its next stage will most likely be Alabama, and that's where a lot of aluminum is recycled. Of course, markets change, so our buyers do every once in a while shift, but right now we actually just came out with a blog post that you can check out on our website, breaking down where each material goes. So if you're curious, okay, where does this plastic container go? You can check out that on our website and get a better idea of where it's going and what it's being turned into. And exciting news too, that you probably have heard of, we have a new MRF that will be coming in the next few years. That is very overdue. Our current MRF is over 30 years old, and it's currently processing way more recyclables than it was built to. So this new MRF will be able to handle the amount of materials that we're actually getting, and sort of introduce more technology, more innovation, and even, improved job safety and efficiency. So we're excited for that. So stay tuned for updates. And now on to probably my favorite part of this presentation, because I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about recycling and what goes where, why it goes there. The rules can be confusing. So we are here to break it down into these 5 simple rules to help make it a little less confusing and a little more approachable. So our first rule being paper and single-use containers only. So that means paper and cardboard can go into the blue bin, and containers that are single-use. So something like a Tupperware, for example, that's not designed to be single-use. A water bottle, like this Nalgene, not designed to be single-use. So neither a Tupperware or a plastic reusable water bottle can go in the blue bin. Something like this single-use container, a water bottle here, this can go in the blue bin. So again, that first rule being paper and cardboard and single-use containers. And now zooming in a little bit more to the nitty-gritty, second rule is it has to be made of just one material. So again, revisiting this plastic single-use water bottle, this is just one material. It is just plastic, so it can go in the blue bin. An exception to that rule, labels. We see enough of labels on containers that you don't need to worry about taking those off. You can put that into the blue bin, so that's the exception to that single materials rule. If we were to only accept containers, if people had taken off labels, then we probably wouldn't see much recyclables if we asked people to put in that amount of effort. So don't worry about the labels. But other than that, single materials that's our second rule. When we think about things that aren't single materials, an example of that would be ice cream containers, milk cartons, juice boxes, all of those things, they might appear to be just paper or just cardboard, but they actually are paper with either a foil, wax, or plastic lining to protect that paper packaging, to ensure that it holds the liquid that it's supposed to hold. So all of those items since they're two materials that can't be separated, they can't come apart, those would have to be trash. So moving on here to our third rule, items have to be bigger than 2 by 2 inches. You might read on the slide here that they have to be bigger than a squirrel's head. That's another memorable way to remember that rule. And Rhonda uses that reference often with kids, bigger than a squirrel's head. And we say bigger than a credit card. That's another reference you can use. So as long as it's larger than 2 by 2 inches, it can go in the blue bin. And we actually have some of these stickers that show you how big that is.
You could slap them right on your blue bin when you get home, or hand them out so that people aren't putting little bits and bobs in there.
Exactly. So we have those on the table on your way out. Feel free to grab one. I have it on my own recycling bin because sometimes I have, little bottles, like a prescription bottle that might be right on the edge. So if it covers that sticker, it's good to go in the blue bin. If it doesn't, unfortunately, it would have to be trash. So that sort of brings me to a common question. What about bottle caps? I would screw this off, but I'm going to be holding my microphone here. Oh, thank you. Rhonda will demonstrate. So we have bottle caps. When it's separate, it's smaller than 2 by 2 inches. If you secure it back on the bottle, then it becomes a larger unit, larger than 2 by 2 inches, and it rides through our materials recycling facility as one unit. Something, sort of the reasoning behind that 2 by 2 inch rule is actually because we have our glass recycling that happens below the conveyor belt where recyclables are being sorted. Any item that's smaller than 2 by 2 inches will fall through the conveyor and contaminate the glass recycling below. So
I'll pass this around. So this, I took a sample the other day. It's a little dirtier than usual, but because it was raining. That's another thing we battle with too, is the elements. But this is supposed to be all glass. So like when you put a glass jar into your blue bin, it should come out just as glass. But because of those little bits and bobs that are smaller than a squirrel's head, this is what we get. And this is why it's really important to spread the word. So there you go. Have a look at that.
So that's a really shocking example. Gabby and I were actually checking that sample out just the other day, and we were quite surprised by the items that were not glass that ended up in the glass recycling. So it just goes to show that keeping items that aren't recyclable out of your blue bin, very important. Keeping items that are smaller than 2 by 2 inches, even more important, because it can get pretty gnarly, as you can see in this example. So our fourth rule is no hazardous waste. And that includes hazardous waste containers, even if they're empty. We want to keep any hazardous materials out of the blue bin. We have a little section on that later on, so we'll dive a little bit deeper into what hazardous waste is and how to identify it. But some common examples would be batteries, especially lithium batteries. Those can be really dangerous and even cause fires in MRFs. They cause, a danger to the employees working in that facility. So keeping hazardous materials out of the blue bin is really important. And then finally, items should be clean, so no food, no drink, beverage containers empty, no food residue. We talk about the dreaded peanut butter containers pretty often. Those can be pretty tricky to clean out, but the alternative is either putting a container that could be recycled into Vermont's only landfill, or putting a dirty peanut butter container into the recycling, which can either cause, contamination to the recycling load or other negative effects. So making sure your containers are clean. That can be an overnight soak of your peanut butter container and a couple of shakes and rinses. That can be giving it to your dog to lick out if you want to save water. That was one of my favorite suggestions when someone asked, what if I don't want to waste all that water to rinse out my peanut butter container? So a lot of ways to do it, but just making sure there's no food or drink in or on containers. And so those are the basic 5 rules. And now we sort of hone in on a little bit more of the nitty-gritty of recycling. When we're talking about different materials, there are some additional rules that apply. So first, looking at plastic. So not just any plastic can go into the blue bin. It has to be rigid plastic containers. So that would be an item like this water bottle, hard plastic. This, I'm not going to use that.
Yep, don't
as an
use
example.
that one.
We'll talk
That's
about
why
that
I was
later.
like, this one.
This is a good, yeah. So hard plastic containers, any container that is, or any plastic that's floppy, filmy, flip-floppy plastic like this, that has to go in the trash, not your blue bin. So this actually, plastic bags, plastic film, there's an alternative. Instead of putting it in your trash, you can actually take, a lot of grocery stores have these take-back bins. So it's a separate program from Blue Bin Recycling, but they offer a take-back program, or a recycling program, I should say, where film and plastic bags are collected in these bins outside of grocery stores, and then a company called Trex turns them into composite decking. So a pretty cool process there in a way that you can reduce your waste. But just keep them out of your blue bin. And then also when we're talking about plastic, you might notice that on a lot of plastic containers, if you turn them over, they have a little recycling symbol and a number. That can be at times misleading. Not every number is recyclable. So just because it has a recycling symbol and a number doesn't mean it's recyclable. It's actually just telling you the type of plastic that it is. So it might have a number 1 through 7. We reliably take 1, 2s, and 5s. So any other number, that should go in your trash. 1, 2s, and 5s, if all of the other rules that we're talking about, check the box, bigger than 2 by 2 inches, a hard plastic container. 1, 2s, and 5s are the types that we're looking for. A cute little rhyme that one of Rhonda's students came up with to remember is 1, 2s, and 5s keeps the earth alive. So
Works.
I use it often. I work with a group of adult volunteers, and they use it often too. So that's a handy one. So you can remember that by that rhyme. And then lastly, no black plastic. Vermont does not accept black plastic. So just making sure you keep that out of your blue bin. Glass, when we're talking about glass, we want to stick to bottles and jars only. So again, single-use containers. So that can be recycled. In Vermont, a lot of people treat this like not a single-use container, but it actually is designed to be single-use if you get jam in a similar container to that. Glass, windows, drinking glasses, those are not designed to be single-use containers, so shouldn't go in your blue bin. So again, just those single-use jars or bottles. And then metal, bottles and cans, pretty easy there. Other types of metals, like a old frying pan that you want to get rid of, that shouldn't go in your blue bin. Instead, you can actually take that into scrap metal. And any of our drop-off centers is a great place to take that. We accept scrap metal for free there. So that's a great alternative. We don't want that in the blue bin. And then lastly, paper and cardboard, making sure that that is just flattened before you put it in your blue bin. So that wraps up our little recycling section here.
And we're on to my specialty, Special materials, all right? So these are things that can be recycled, just not in your blue bin. Kat already mentioned the flip-floppy plastic that you can take back to the grocery stores. But there is so much more, like electronics, big and small, all can be recycled. Remember those metals we talked about earlier? Get them to a drop-off center so that all of those metals can actually be recycled, and we don't have to steal from Mother Nature's fantastical gifts. Batteries is another one. Vermont is the first state to pass a battery law that requires everybody to keep these out of the trash, all of them. Rechargeable, single use, doesn't matter what chemistry they're made out of. Pack them up, bring them down to a drop-off center. There's some retail stores that collect batteries as well in your area. Scrap metal, that would be anything that's not a bottle or a can, all right? So if it's not a bottle or a can, it could go into if it's not a bottle or a can, it can go into scrap metal, all right? I just have a little bucket hanging out in my house that I pop in all of the little bits and bobs that are made out of metal. Those little yogurt tops, I could sit and try to save it and build a ball bigger than a squirrel's head, but I'm too lazy for that. So I just pop it in a bucket, and then I just dump it into a big old roll-off container. I also do that with the soup can tops as well. Propane tanks, appliances, all of those things can actually be recycled. Holy socks! What? All right, holy socks can definitely be recycled. And what's cool about Apparel Impact, which is the clothes textile recycler we use, is they are local. They are Northeast. They are owned and operated by veterans. Everything that they collect in those boxes stays in the United States. 60% of what they collect actually goes back out into the community to wear. And then the rest of it goes to recyclers to get made into like dog beds or like the grease rags at garages. So that is pretty awesome. It's a great partnership that we love to have. But you can bring this material to any of our drop-off centers, or most of it. Some of the appliances and stuff are some restrictions, but yeah. And the mattresses, last year, the guy that does all of the mattress recycling, Sleepwell Recycling, recycled over 33,000 mattresses. Do you know how big a mattress is? It takes up a lot of space in that one landfill. So he can recycle up to 95% of every mattress or box spring. It's hard work. He puts his little brother to lots of work, but it's hard work, but he is getting it done because he believes in the mission. All right. Hazardous waste on the way down.
All right, so we mentioned that we have an environmental depot. That is our facility that takes household hazardous waste. So what is hazardous waste? When you look at your label at home of cleaning products, paint, anything that you might suspect to be hazardous, you can see here in this little handy-dandy graphic, we have a little 101 for reading labels. So anything that says danger, poison, caution, warning, flammable, all of those words indicate that it's a hazardous material and should be disposed of at the environmental depot, not in the blue bin. Keep it out of the trash, and instead make sure that it's disposed of safely from our environment and any harmful impacts that it could have. Paint is one common item that is hazardous waste that can be taken to our environmental depot. We actually have a paint recycling program that is really, really amazing to witness. One of my favorite experiences so far working here has been watching Bob, our paint recycler, recycle this paint. So basically, he takes people's paint that they drop off, combines it, sort of mixes it to make just the right color, and he's an artist actually. So sometimes he paints with the recycled paint, and ultimately we resell the paint into a new product. So the paint that you're bringing in is being turned into new usable paint. So that's a really cool circular process that we're really excited about. Other common items, nail polish, cleaning products like bleach, your bug spray, all those are also hazardous waste items. All right, and then to wrap things up, you might be asking yourselves, okay, so what do I do now? Now that you have all of this knowledge, thankfully we do have handouts for you on the way out, so if you didn't remember everything, that is okay. We have tools to help you with that. But some action items that I want to leave you with. One, buy things out of recycled material. Recycling only works if the consumer has sort of pays with their dollar, votes with their dollar, and encourages this process to continue. So an easy item to do that with, paper napkins. Try to look for that made out of recycled material. Try to look for that label when you're buying things. I recently bought new shampoo, and I didn't realize it, but the bottle is 100% made out of recycled material. So I'm going to keep buying that shampoo because, again, at the beginning of this presentation, Rhonda showed the amount of oil that's used to make a virgin plastic bottle. That's pretty scary. And a great alternative is instead buying materials, buying items that are packaged in recycled material. So that's number one. Number two, think outside the blue bin. Now you know that we can do a lot for our environment, a lot for sustainability, not just blue bin recycling, not just composting, but recycling mattresses, recycling your scrap metal. There are a lot of options, and to make sure that something has a second life and not just ending with the landfill. And then third, make your own little mini sort station at home. This is actually a picture of Rhonda's sort station. So she has all these amazing reused containers, yogurt containers or whatnot, turned into little collection bins. So floppy plastic to take to the grocery stores, batteries to take to the environmental depot or a drop-off center, hazardous waste, scrap metal. You can do this under your sink at a very small scale. I do it myself. I aspire to have this level of sort station. So Rhonda's my inspiration, but that's something that you can do today, tomorrow, this week, to sort of make your life even more sustainable. So, again, I said we have resources for you on the way out. We also have a lot of resources on our website. You can request handouts, signs, posters for your home, for other uses. We also have our monthly email digest, which is an email newsletter that I write that we sort of collaborate on. Gabby and Rhonda both have a business spotlight or a school spotlight section. So you're getting a lot of information about what we're doing in the community, and then also what goes where. We answer frequently asked questions in that newsletter. So we have a lot of information there. You can actually write your email on the way out if you'd like to sign up. We have a sign-up sheet there. And then lastly, we have educational programs that we offer, just like this presentation, workshops, tours, webinars. We have on April 19th a compost workshop at Green Mountain Compost, our organics recycling facility that Rhonda is running, and then a tour to follow. And that's sort of a beautiful way to kick off spring and learn more about compost.
And I mean, who doesn't want to hang out with me for a couple hours, right? Just joking.
And then if you have other disposal questions, of course you can contact us, but we also have an A to Z list on our website where you can search in an item, like, let's say, a specific type of light bulb, like CFL light bulb, and it tells you exactly where you can bring it, how much it'll cost, if it's banned from the landfill. So it gives you all that information, and it's really helpful if you can't find an answer to your disposal question, reach out to us or call our hotline number. And with that, thank you all so much for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to schedule Q&A at this point.
So
yeah.
I think we might have, a couple people might have actually brought some things with them,
Yes.
and they want to know what to do with them, and you guys are going to tell them. So
Oh, they're going to tell us.
yes, I know Sharon. Where's Sharon?
All right,
Okay.
Sharon, give it up. What do you got going on over here? Yeah, so this is a number 1 plastic. Remember, 125, keep the earth alive. You're good to go. It's nice and clean. High five, Sharon. That was a good one. I like it. All right, and then this one, Dixie cups. What do you guys think? Ooh, nice. It is probably not bigger than a squirrel's head, but it also is probably, yeah. So
Oh, okay.
the way I tell is I stick it in. If it doesn't cover that entire sticker, then that means too small, smaller than a squirrel's head. So it also probably is coated. So I always think of, okay, so if you were to make a cup out of just plastic or just paper or cardboard and put water in it, what would happen? Yeah. So always, if the food is touching it directly, trash it. That's just the way. If it's cardboard, because it's
So
always
no
lined with
Dixie
something.
cups and all
no
that
Dixie
stuff.
cups, man.
Ah.
Pop those in the trash. Sharon just came with the whole house. All right.
She
I love
actually read the email.
it. Yeah. So this is going to be a number 5. So we're good to go on this. It's okay. You can put the top on it and pop it all in there. Yeah. It doesn't have a number on it, but I know, I can tell by the feel of it. All right, this is probably 6. I can tell just the way it's made. And listen, are you guys ready? Got your listening earballs on?
Oh.
You hear that? Great sound. That's a great way to tell. Most of the time, if it's 6, does it 6? Does it always work out? No. There's no definites in the world of recycling, but yeah, 6 is not okay. It's just not. All right, so this one, this is going to be a complication. It is paper, all right? Mostly, though, it's going to have food in it. We can't, like, really rinse it out to put it into the recycled bin. And if you have food scrap pickup, does anybody have their food scraps picked up for composting? Or drop them off at a drop-off center for composting? And the hands go up. So there, you cannot bring this stuff, all right? So no compostable, just scrape the plate. That's what that's my new motto. Scrape the plate, so no container, so this would go into the trash. You can tear it up and put it in your backyard pile. That's what I do at our demo site. I tear them up and put them in the backyard pile. They will break down because they're paper, but we just don't, we no longer accept them as compost. Ooh.
Okay, we've got questions.
Now it's all coming.
We'll take this one here.
Well, wait for a microphone, please.
Say that again.
I want to wait. I want to give them a microphone.
Oh, I was going to say, I can help out with a microphone, too.
Sorry.
Okay.
Hello. For lunch today, I had a nice chef salad from Price Chopper. It comes with a clear plastic top and then a black plastic container. They put out a lot of salads and they put out a lot of prepared things we can take home. Usually they have black plastic bottoms and clear plastic tops. Am I right? The clear plastic top goes in the blue bin and all the rest of it goes to trash.
Yes, you are correct. So
Boo.
Boo is right. I agree. So that is one thing we've actually found that consumer feedback is very effective in this area. If you're buying from a business, let's say, that uses black plastic and all of that has to go into the landfill. One place that recently was receiving so much feedback from their customers and changed, Healthy Living. So I had so many people telling me, why don't you guys do something about this? All their to-go meals are in black plastic containers. And recently they switched over to white plastic that is not black plastic. It can be recycled. So if you're seeing that, it really does make a difference to voice your opinion. Maybe they don't even know that black plastic is not recyclable. So educating them and being an advocate for recycling.
So we're going to take a Zoom question.
Is composting mandatory in Vermont now? Yes,
Yes.
right? And if so, any idea about the participation rate?
Composting. I would say we're probably, I mean, it depends, like if people composting at home, you don't have to compost. You have to just keep your food out of the trash. People do that in many, many different ways. And I want to recall, don't quote me, Zoomland, or you guys. But I want to say, like, I think it's at like 60% of people actively keep food out of the trash. So not bad. I do know that since the law went into effect, we reduced, Vermont as a whole, it was 13%. Reduced the amount of food going to the landfill by 13% since that law has been enacted. So we're heading in the right direction.
I have two questions. The first one, do you have a handout that gives the physical location, the street, for the different types? That's my first question. And the second one is, think Christmas. Those wires that have lights on them? And they no longer work? What do you do with them?
Great questions. So, first question was physical handout of our drop-off locations. We have that in the back. Look for the mini Chuck It guide. It's a little pamphlet that's a little bit more intensive than our one-pager, and it gives you a whole breakdown of our facilities, what they accept, where they are, the hours they're open, and then string lights. That's what you're asking about. So string lights that you put on your Christmas tree, those actually can go into scrap metal. So as long as an item is 80%, at least 80% metal in volume or weight, it can go into scrap metal. So string lights, scrap metal. And here's an example of what to look for on your way out of that mini Chuck It guide.
Yeah, you'll want to pick that up on the door on the way out, but I'll give it to you, my friend. You're welcome.
For those of you in Zoom land, if you would like any of CSWD's materials, you can either reach out to us by email or phone, and I'm sure we'll be happy to send it to you, or you can go to cswd.net, and it's in our informational resources.
So we're going to alternate with Zoom.
Here's another Zoom question. What should we do with expired credit cards and bank cards?
If there's money in the account, you could give them to me. No, you just want to cut them up and pop them in the trash.
Trash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depends on your shredder. I think the finance department at work would be really angry if I sent credit cards through their shredder, but you could try it. But yeah, you could just cut them up and put them in your trash. They're not recyclable in any way, shape, or form, as far as I know. Yeah.
I have a question about, this is on. Is it on? Can you hear me? Okay. A lot of public areas. It is. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Too much. And that's what I was going to ask about. A lot of public places, they have the blue bins, and it says, this is trash, this is recycling, or this is compostable, or what, recycling. And I just noticed that people put everything in
So do we.
I mean, and so that eventually gets to your facility. I mean, it's probably full. It's probably dirty. It contains a lot of stuff that you don't recycle. How do you deal with all that? How do you separate it, or do you wash it, or do you? Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're not washing it. We notice, I should say, we pull off about 8% of what we sort every single year as trash. That's what we see, or what they see. I say we, I'm not there. I'm doing the hard work. So if they see it as trash, they're going to pull it off, and they're going to send it to the landfill. If a load comes in, like say from a hauler, they pick up from someplace, and it is too dirty, or even that hauler sometimes will make that call, like there's food splattered all over the recycling, they're going to take that right to the transfer station to go to the landfill because there's just no recovering that. We're not washing. They are just literally, it gets dumped on the floor and they're sorting it out by hand. And that's another reason to rinse, 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 then recycle, because real people have to touch it, at least until we get our new MRF. Then we're going to get lasers, which will be cool. But so yeah.
What should we do with old photographs?
So old photographs are paper as the main component, but they have a lot of heavy inks and also other layers to it that would make them non-recyclable. So you can keep your photographs and put them in a lovely album, or unfortunately they would have to go in the trash.
I wanted to pass on something I learned at the Essex dump. I was using black plastic doggy bags in my garbage little container in the kitchen. And then I was putting it into the compost bin at Essex. Oh, and one nice woman said, "You can't do that." Because they are not compostable. Biodegradable, maybe in 100 years, but not compostable.
Great, yeah. Biodegradable does not equal compostable. Do not be fooled. Yeah, don't be fooled by these lunatics who will be like, "Ooh, this will break down and it's biodegradable and the Mother Earth will thank you." It's still plastic, guys. It's still just number 2 plastic, high-density polyethylene. So it's still not going to go anywhere for a long time. Everything is biodegradable if you give it long enough time to break into teeny tiny pieces. Doesn't mean it disappears. So if you are, if you are using bags for dropping food scraps off, we do not accept pet waste, so please don't put that in there. But if you are dropping off, please make sure they are certified compostable bags. And again, we have information in the back that will help you determine that.
Since most plastic isn't actually recycled due to its complexity, contamination, or economic unfeasibility, isn't the plastic recycling system overwhelmed by wish cycling at this point?
Yes. Overwhelmed is a strong word, but yes, there is a lot of material out there that is just not recyclable, and that is why we have come here today and finished on a high note saying, please look for materials that are made from recycled material and recycle everything that you can. I always say, and I actually can't remember if you mentioned this, Kat, if you have to buy something single use, take a look and make sure that it's recyclable before you make the purchase. I actually am a big oat milk drinker, and I always try to look for the brands that come in a plastic bottle rather than a carton, because I know I go through one a week, and that would be a lot of trash if it adds up. Yeah.
A lot of vegetables come in either clamshell or plastic bags, like lettuce. Which one makes more sense for the environment? I know the clamshells are recycled, but the plastic bags are not, and some of the times they're cellophane type quality bags. And I'm always curious which one I should pick for that reason.
That's a really good question, and it's I think hard to answer because it is complicated. If you recycle the plastic container in the blue bin, that's great. Then that probably, and if you were to, throw away the plastic bag, then I would say the container is a better option. But if you were to recycle that plastic bag, not in the blue bin, but through that grocery store plastic bag and film recycling program, then that sort of makes them both a little bit tied in my eyes. Yeah, there are some interesting articles out there about the impact of different packaging, and really it takes a whole life cycle analysis to know exactly which one is more sustainable from a disposal, manufacturing perspective, shipping perspective, all of that. But I think my answer would be if you recycle the plastic bag or the plastic container in their own ways, then it sort of is up to you. I don't know if you all have a better answer about that.
Yeah, and with the produce bag, sometimes it's hard. If it's like that crunchy sounding stuff, then that's trash. If it says 1 or 2 or 4 on it for the plastic bags, that's what is recyclable, is number 2 and number 4 plastic bags. And yeah, so I would probably go for the plastic container because most of those are number 1. But I would look at that as well. So yeah, I would say the same. If it's recyclable and you're going to get it recycled, then go with that option.
Haven't global shifts like China's ban on plastic waste imports a few years back made the problem worse, leaving a lot of plastic just to be burned or dumped?
Great question. So we actually sell all of our materials domestically, so we weren't impacted by that change. I know other states in our country were, but since our buyers are all domestic, either United States or Canada, that didn't impact Vermont hugely. Anything to add to that? I think that Vermont does a really good job keeping things domestic. I know that the United States as a whole has really been impacted by that. Our state, thankfully, has stayed committed to domestic sales in our recyclable material. So you can be assured that the plastic that you're putting in your blue bin isn't being burned or thrown into the trash, because Vermont does a really good job with having those thoughtful decisions with buyers.
What do we do with big pieces of styrofoam, the sort of thing that comes packed with a new TV, et cetera?
So there currently is only one place in the state of Vermont that will recycle styrofoam, and it's not here. It's all the way up in the Northeast Kingdom. That is something that we could potentially have in the future, but at the moment, styrofoam of any kind is just trash.
Pop-Tarts of small cat food cans. They're 2 by 2, but will they fall through the conveyor belt?
I heard Pop-Tarts and
Okay.
cat food cans. Is
Okay.
that
You pick up
The Pop-Tops,
Oh.
not Pop-Tarts and cat food cans.
okay?
Pop-Tots, Pop-Tops, yeah.
I don't think I've ever been asked about Pop-Tarts before. So the tops of cat food cans, you have 2 options. They are technically something that can be blue bin recyclable if you put it back in the original can that it came in and squeeze the lid shut to the point where it won't come out if you flip the top. Or you could be like Rhonda and just clean them, save them up, and throw them in the scrap metal bin. That's fine too.
What about hardcover books, which unfortunately, what about hardcover books, which unfortunately people don't want to keep anymore?
That's a great question, actually, because it's a little bit tricky. We actually do take soft cover books in a blue bin, recycle bin, so you can, if you've got, let's say, a really old copy of something that you don't want to use anymore and you can't donate it, you can put it in the recycle bin, but a hardcover book needs to go somewhere else. A hardcover book is considered special recycling, and you can actually bring them to some of our drop-off centers to be recycled.
Can you cut them up and take the covers off, and is the paper recyclable?
I
Yeah.
would say yes, you can do that. It is a lot of work, but if you wanted to absolutely separate it out yourself, that's
Then
okay.
you have to cut the glue off.
Yeah, you could just cut the cover off, that's fine. Or you could just bring all of the books, spiral bound, soft covered and hard covered, all to a drop off center and put them in the book bin, and that way they'll get shredded up by Shred-X.
Here's a junk mail question. Is all junk mail recyclable, or are there particular pieces that should not be put in the recycle bin? Like cardboard, sometimes they have cardboard fake credit cards in them.
Yeah, the credit card ones, if it's a plastic one, take the card out, put it in the trash. If it's just a cardboard one, you can put the whole thing in. I usually just bend it, or I try to. There's also, maybe we could send a link to you, Carol. There's also a website you can go to apply to stop getting junk mail, which is like actually works. You just have to re-up it like every year, but it has worked gloriously for me. Oh, can we do the pizza box real quick? I've got a request up here. I feel like she might like tear my leg off if we don't go over the pizza box. I'm just joking. All right, so pizza boxes. There have been lots of discussion about it over the years. The one thing with recycling is that when technology changes, what we can accept changes. So it might seem like, oh, CSWD out there just making rules up left and right. but we're not. We're trying to go along with what technology allows for us to accept, and the recyclers doing the actual recycling. So pizza boxes happen to be one of those things. So with cardboard, so if the pizza box is empty, meaning there is no food, I'm like, I think the cheese came undone. If there's like no food in it, if you see there's some cheese stuck to it, that seems to be okay according to the paper mills, and the grease is perfectly fine. So this, as is, could go into the recycle bin. All right, so yeah, just make sure that it's empty. That little, like, sometimes they put like a little cage or something, or a little plastic thingamajig in the bottom. Take that out. But as long as it is empty, you can toss it right into that blue bin. Because I know what happens at things, I flatten it all out, but this, I guess, is flat enough if you just want to be mediocre. Just joking.
Yes, I have a question here.
Oh.
That was Libby's question. Yeah, she was looking very serious about
I'm
the pizza box.
concerned about the fact that we have a single landfill in Vermont, and it's not close to anything except the Canadian border. And I'm not sure what volume it has remaining to be used, but I see that as a huge problem in the future. And I was wondering if you knew of any ideas which CSWD might be thinking about where they could find another landfill.
I can give you a little information on the first part, and I'll do my best for the second part, but if anybody wants to jump in, they're more than welcome to, and then I guess that's the last question. To the first part of your question, yes, there is only one landfill, and it's estimated that there's only about 20 years left before it becomes completely full. So I can't speak on the volume, but we've got approximately 20 years left before we need a different solution. However, I'm not aware that we have any plans to site a new site.
Yeah, the state is actually currently at the push of a lot of folks at CSWD that are above all of three of us. They are actually getting together like a cabinet. Do you know more about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
great. You do it, huh?
A few months ago, we did have, I believe it was Josh Kelly from the state come talk to us about that subject. And yeah, it's a real concern for us at the district. And there are no plans at the state level right now for coordinating anything. I think they're more looking to the commercial sector to solve that problem. I'm very concerned about it because it could end up that we're shipping all our trash out of state, which I hope won't happen. But anyway, you bring up a very good question, and there's no clear answer as to the long-term future of a landfill.
Okay, thanks
Thanks,
you
Paul.
so much. This was great.
Thank you, guys.